Welcome to Let's Get Rash. This is the podcast that says what your boss won't and what your employees wish they could. Work sucks today because leadership sucks and no one wants to say it out loud. I'm Jessica, a former insider turned leadership coach and the author of Let's Get Rash about leadership. I'm not here to be nice, I'm here to be real. Let's get rash about it. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 9. Today we're talking about company values, why they matter, and why most companies are getting them wrong. Before we dive in, just a quick personal update. I'm getting back on track with my book. For those of you who don't know, I wrote a step-by-step guide about leadership, and since I value transparency, I want to be honest with you. I've been all over the place lately. With everything happening in the world, especially with tech advances, focus has been tricky. But I'm back, and if you're following along in the book, we're in chapter 2. In episode 7, we talked about mission statements not being a leadership tool. I told you to focus on the commander's intent instead. Well, once the intent is clear, your next step is defining the standards, your company values. Oh, and one more thing. I give away free books, so go to rashlead.com/book and enter to win one. So let's talk company values. Many companies do have them, but here's the problem. They're rarely referenced, if ever. They're not referenced in counseling sessions, not in performance reviews. And the truth is, most employees roll their eyes at this type of talk. Same with your mission statement, because company values have been used as a marketing tool. They're customer-facing, and that's the first thing that you're doing wrong. Your values need to be for internal use only. They are not for the company to brag about how great they are. Sometimes company values are even weaponized. Think about it. How many times have you seen company values used as an excuse to fire someone rather than to guide them? See, it's less about morality and more about a tool in the HR big bag of tricks. Let me give you an example. Picture a police department with a fleet of cars. The rule in the handbook is to never use them for personal errands. Integrity is one of the police department's values. But in reality, well, Sergeant Brown stopped by his kid's recital and meets his wife regularly for lunch in one. Lieutenant White drives one home at night. Captain Orange sold his personal car and uses the cruiser for everything. The chief? Totally fine with it. Kind of use it as an employee perk. Now enter Officer Red. Everyone hates him. He's just kind of weird. He's not part of the clique. But no one ever counsels him. No one ever tells him the truth. They just quietly fire him over 6 months. If you're unfamiliar with quiet firing, it's when employers make your life miserable, indirectly. It's about avoidance, exclusion, subtle sabotage, all in the name of getting you out. Well, Officer Red, he didn't quit. He needed this job. But then one day, a lucky break for the department, they caught him taking the cruiser to his dentist appointment. The chief sat him down and told him that he violated one of their values, the value of integrity. A value that they claim to hold in the highest regard. Well, that was laughable to Officer Red. He knew at least 3 officers who did this regularly, including the chief himself. Still, the chief convinced Officer Red that if he didn't resign, his reputation would be destroyed throughout the city. Well, Officer Red didn't challenge it. He resigned. And I'll go deeper into this topic in another episode, but let me say this clearly right now. When a leader says resign or we'll have to fire you, please challenge that. Don't take that deal. That offer helps them out, not you as an employee. Your reputation will not stay intact, and once you voluntarily resign, you'll lose your ability to challenge almost everything afterward. In most cases, you've also just waived your right to unemployment. If a company wants you gone, they need to say the words, "You're fired." Resigned or be fired is weak leadership. It's what happens when someone doesn't have enough data, documentation, or courage to actually fire you. So, back to the story. The rest of the department knows exactly what happened to Officer Red, and now they're all confused. Cruisers are still being used for personal errands, but now it's not about the rules, it's about who you are. That's what selective enforcement does. It doesn't create integrity, it creates fear and favoritism. Now let's contrast that with a company that actually uses its values in hiring, performance, and daily culture. One that's famous for preaching them, Dave Ramsey's company. As for my source, this is a matter of public record detailed in court documents. See, these guys have a ton of values, but today we're focusing on just one. It's their righteous living value. They describe it as biblically based, but calling something biblically based doesn't make it biblical. Too often, it just reflects someone's personal interpretation of Christianity and a belief that they get to play God. I don't see that supported in Scripture, but I digress. At Ramsey Solutions, employees are expected to live ethically in all aspects of their life. Allegedly, employees have been fired for not living within this value. One high-profile case involved a woman fired shortly after telling her employer that she was 12 weeks pregnant. Because she was unmarried, the company linked this to premarital sex under the righteous living policy. Depositions and court documents even describe firing another person after a coworker reported seeing the employee's boyfriend leaving her apartment early one morning. Also, Ramsey himself has publicly stated that he fires people for things like extramarital affairs. Court filings indicate that at least 2 former employees were terminated for sex outside of their marriages. Oh, and just so you know, internal testimony revealed that oral sex outside marriage wasn't treated the same way, not automatically fireable. See, they have their limits. Sound familiar? Bill Clinton. So here's where it really gets juicy. One senior staff member, a famous moneymaker at the company, was rumored to be having an affair. His own wife went to leadership in 2018, even brought evidence and claimed the affair involved another employee. They ignored her. Rumor has it that Dave Ramsey was so mad that this wife had the audacity to catch her husband cheating, he called her a world-class bitch behind her back. And the moneymaker stayed on the payroll until 2021. Shocking. See, just like the police department story, these values only seem to apply to the people they want them to apply to. And this is the company and the guy we get leadership training from, our leadership guru. This is the company who lectures us peasants about financing a car but then charges $5,000 for a conference that's going to change our lives. Really? What's the lesson? How to be a self-righteous hypocrite? Just asking. Now, I know how this can sound. I see all those quotes too. Tearing other people down won't build you up. Only weak people criticize. All that feel-good stuff. And some of you might think that's what I'm doing here. It's not. I'm showing examples of where leadership is failing because pretending it isn't doesn't fix anything. What I see everywhere is feel-good nonsense that is not working. Quotes that get massive praise but don't actually mean shit. They're generic, they're safe, and thousands of people share them and like them. Yes, this, while nothing changes. For the sake of my own business, my reputation, and my livelihood, it would be easier just to go along with it, to swim in the same direction. But I can't. I just can't do it because I hear the same stories every single day from every industry, every level. People hate their jobs. And it's not the work, it's the leadership. More often than not, hypocrisy is the number one reason people resent the people leading them. Double standards, lack of integrity. Let me give you another example. Remember that story last summer that blew up at the Coldplay concert? The CEO and the HR director were caught having an affair. Now let's get rash. The affair itself wasn't shocking. Grow up, everybody. Everybody's humping everyone. It's the tale as old as time. What made them the poster children for immorality wasn't the cheating. It was their positions. CEO, HR director. See, we assumed that they preached company values, enforced policies on everyone below them, and then completely ignored them themselves. Society went wild. We didn't even know the full story, but we smelled hypocrisy, and oh boy, did we enjoy it. We were all like, gotcha, bitch, because finally someone in power was being held to their own standards or lack thereof. The result? Both resigned, and honestly, they're basically unemployable today. Did we ever stop and think about the kind of leaders they might have been? Were they good people? Were they pillars of the community? Were they deserving of forgiveness? Nah. All we knew was the hypocrisy, and maybe some of us got a little satisfaction imagining our own bosses in their place. They became the sacrificial lambs, metaphorically speaking, from our own experiences. And sure, some of us pretended that we were all outraged by the immorality of the cheating itself. We wrapped it up in concern for their spouses, their kids, and their families. But come on, that's not why we wanted them to fail. And if it was, we wouldn't have cheered while their livelihoods were stripped away, destroying those very people that we're claiming to be protecting. What we actually did was a modern-day lynching, and in doing so, we sent a very loud message to upper management everywhere. Hypocrisy will cost you everything, period. And even though that story proves my point, personally, I think we went a little too far with those folks. But if you're not leading by example, now you know exactly what the masses think about it. The leadership example still sticks. Lead by example. Today, company handbooks, SOPs, job descriptions, policies, values, they've all become just protection for the company. They don't mean a damn thing to employees. They read like a liability waiver. What a waste. So let's solve this. Let's improve it. If your company has values already established, let's review them. Do they actually make sense today? Do they have 4 inches of dust on them? Were they built to be customer-facing? Team expectations or values need to be built for the team. This is not a marketing scheme, it's the guidelines for your team. So let's walk through this. You're aiming for 4 to 7 values. If you're a leader, these must be values that you also strive for. We're all human and imperfect, so when you create your values, don't customize them around your current staff. This isn't about protecting who you already have on staff. It's about setting the bar and holding to it. Your values should set the standard, not defend the underperformers that you happen to like. They should be achievable, but not effortless. And don't avoid words like integrity just because they're uncomfortable or hard to measure. Oh, and if loyalty makes your list, be crystal clear about what that means. Loyalty to the business and the mission, not blind allegiance to a boss. Now, if you work for a large company where the values are already set in stone and buried under a layer of dust, you can still do this. Your team will appreciate the clarity and they will respect knowing exactly what values that you're looking for. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of companies technically have values, but they're meaningless. That's a massive missed opportunity to actually get everyone aligned and pulling in the same direction. And here's the important part. Involve your team. If you don't have established values yet or you need to redo them, call a meeting. Invite the team to weigh in. Let them throw out suggestions. This creates buy-in. And don't worry, if they suggest stupid crap, you can dismiss it. You're still the boss. Here are some examples of what your values could look like. Continuous improvement. We're never done. We constantly ask, how can this be better? See, a value like that will excite the team. It tells them that their ideas matter, their suggestions are welcome, and improvement isn't a threat, it's expected. Bias for action. Speed matters. We'd rather fix a mistake than wait forever for perfection. That value tells the team that mistakes are forgivable. Action is valued. Progress beats paralysis. Another value could be all hands on deck. When work needs done, we do it. Titles don't exempt anyone, and no task is beneath us. This value makes it clear that no one is above the work. If someone doesn't show up, it's all hands on deck. Everyone helps. Titles don't outrank responsibility. Integrity. Always doing the right thing personally and professionally. See, integrity is the value I rank above all others. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Many companies avoid it because some of their top performers don't actually have it. Integrity isn't complicated, but avoiding it usually comes down to protecting high earners who get results while cutting ethical corners. Integrity should be non-negotiable, something that we all honor and actively strive for. Once you've established your values, now what? This is the most important part. You share them. You print them out. You hang them in the break rooms, the offices, the common areas. You have every employee read them and sign them and acknowledge that they understand them. Then, and this is where most companies fail, you refer to them constantly. You call out moments when someone is living the value. And just as important, you acknowledge when they're not. These are not just words on a wall, they are the standard. When you see a team member not living out a value, address it immediately, in that moment, not during their annual review 6 months later. These values should also be added to every job advertisement. Let people know what they're signing up for before they ever apply. Now, the final step, and this is the one that actually makes this whole thing stick, you add your values to your performance reviews and counseling or write-up statements. Most companies are using templates downloaded from the internet or bundled with their payroll software. They're generic, they're boring, and often completely irrelevant to the role that's being reviewed. Does it make sense to you to grade someone on communication skills when they're not even in a role built around communication? Or my personal favorite, this one's my favorite category to mock, initiative. Does it make sense to grade a team member on initiative when their role is so streamlined that they have no opportunity to show it? Job knowledge? Boring. That's expected. These templates waste valuable real estate, so cut the crap. Add your values. Stop grading people on things that don't matter and start holding them accountable to the standards that you claim to believe in. Same goes for counseling and write-up forms. If your values don't show up there, they don't matter. Here's another tip, a bonus if you will. When you hire a new employee, they should receive a copy of your customized write-up form and performance evaluation. This small gesture sends a big message. You're not playing around like every other company they've worked for. Your values matter and you're serious about upholding them. See, every employee should know from day one how they're being evaluated. Think back to school. If none of our work was graded all year long and then our teacher handed us a D or an F at the end of the year, we'd be pretty confused and rightfully frustrated. Work is no different. Oh, and one final thought. Promotions should go to people who are consistently living out those values. They should always be the priority in promotion decisions. See, values used to matter. The reason that they were pushed aside and used for marketing is simple. The wrong people were promoted. Sorry, I know that stings, but it's the truth. When you promote people who don't live the values, you teach everyone else that the values are optional. And once that happens, well, they're pretty much worthless. Thanks for listening to this episode of Let's Get Rash. Please like, subscribe, comment, GIF, all those types of things. Let me know what you think. And truly, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate your support more than I can ever put into words. Have a great day.